What's up, world? Perfectspiral.blogspot.com. Figured I'd give you all a little video update today, shake things up a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of update some things I wrote about in my last post, Lance Armstrong, Major League Baseball trade deadline, and talk a little bit about Mike Vick being reinstated today, well, partially, kind of, conditionally, whatever you want to call it. So starting off, Lance Armstrong, Tour de France is over, finished in third. Alberto Contador, overall champion for 2009. In the grand scheme of things, 3 weeks ago, I would have been kind of upset. I would have said, I really wanted Lance to win. I was really pulling for him. But now when you look at it and you think about the grand scheme of things, Lance Armstrong's 37 years old. He's about to turn 38. And he finished third in the toughest bike race in the world. That's pretty impressive. And looking at next year, when you think about that, he's going to have more time to train, because remember a couple months ago he had a broken collarbone. He suffered in a crash, so that kind of limited his training a little bit. And next year he's going to be sponsored by Radio Shack, have his own team, his own American team, and he's going to be the headliner of it. He's not going to have to worry about someone like Alberto Contador being, team captain, team leader. He's going to have everyone on his team helping to push him to the yellow jersey instead of having to compete with Contador for something like that. Also, I want to say, if anyone saw a couple days ago, I didn't mention this in my last post, but Lance had in the final time trial, I believe it was Friday, I think. I watched it on Versus, and Lance had this ridiculous Livestrong time trial bike. So if you go on Google Images, maybe I might be able to get a link of it. I'll put up his time trial bike. It was the craziest looking bike I've ever seen. I wonder how much that would go for on eBay. Maybe it is on eBay already. I don't know if he's willing to get rid of it. But anyway, moving on. Major League Baseball trade deadline. I predicted the Giants would make waves in the second half of the season, and they've won 3 out of their last 10 games. And they're totally just blowing the wild card right now. They're not catching the Dodgers. The Rockies have passed them. Giants are 2 games back right now in the wild card. Tim Lincecum, got rocked by his standards. He gave up 4 runs in his last outing. He's pitching tonight, so hopefully pitching tonight against Pittsburgh. So hopefully he can get the win there against not a very good team in the Pirates. So I'm crossing my fingers, saying hopefully they'll come back and make my prediction look good. I'm kind of being a homer with the whole thing anyway, but I think they can do it. Hopefully, they're not off to a good start in the second half, but they better turn things around fast, or else I'm going to look real bad. By the trade deadline coming up in, believed, Friday. Friday is, July 31st, the last day for teams to make trades. And the big thing is Roy Halladay. He's like the only big name out there, really. Can anyone afford him? It seems ridiculous. The Blue Jays are going to get rid of him. Obviously, they want a lot in return. And he's probably one of the top 3 pitchers in the majors right now. I don't know how many complete games he has this year, but it's like 4 or 5, maybe even more than that. I'll correct that, put that up. But the asking price is high. It's deservedly so. The Phillies reportedly have a lot of prospects to give up for him, but they also have not been able to make a trade thus far. They've made a number of offers and they haven't gone through. So there's other teams, the Angels, the Dodgers, everyone's reportedly getting in on the conversation. Ultimately, what I think will happen, I think he'll end up going to the Phillies. The Phillies will make the deal to get him. That's what I think is the most likely thing. That's what everyone is. A lot of these things happen where the Phillies came out at the beginning and everyone said, okay, it's going to be the Phillies. They have the prospects to do it. It'll put them over the edge. They'll be, number 1 favorite in the National League now. But they haven't gotten it done so far, so everyone's kind of, is it going to happen? I really think it will. The Blue Jays, they're building to the future, and the Phillies can win right now. And, be a far and away favorite, I think, if they get Halladay. So that's what I think will end up happening with that. Also, I got to touch on the other deal that has already happened, Matt Holliday going from Oakland to St. Louis. that's you think about that. St. Louis already has two big pitchers, Wainwright and Chris Carpenter. Wainwright's been putting up big numbers this year. You can't doubt that. Carpenter has been an established, legit pitcher, and they have the best player in the game, and Albert Pujols in that lineup. They have a number of complementary players. Most notably that comes to mind right now is Rick Ankiel, who can, complement Holiday and Pujols in that lineup. So they got to be, right now the number one team in the National League, I would think, as far as when you look at their pitching depth and their lineup. I don't know. I'd have to look up stuff on their bullpen, look up the stats and everything. But I mean, they're a very solid team. I think they're going to come out of the Central with what they have right now. I know they're being chased. Actually, they're not even in first place right now. I believe the Astros and Brewers are, giving them a run for their money. But I really think St. Louis will come out of there, and with the Phillies will be, one of the top two teams. Phillies and Dodgers, really. Those three, obviously the big National League teams. But I mean, it all depends on what happens with the Phillies as far as my consensus number one team in the National League. And I'm going to end with some thoughts on Mike Vick because it's news. I really don't want to talk about it, but I figured I might as well because it just came out that he is conditionally reinstated, whatever that means. He can sign with the team, practice with them, do all that stuff, but he can't actually play in a game until something like October. I don't really know the details yet, but here's why I don't even think this matters. Tell me, if anyone can comment, what team is going to sign Mike Vick? That's what everyone's saying. Who is going to have that PR firestorm? Have all the hate mail from PETA and all that crap. I mean, no one wants to deal with that. So I really would be shocked if anyone signed him. No one even knows that he can still play. They'd have to invite him to training camp and go through all that, and that still no one knows if he can play or not. And obviously, he's not going to be a starting quarterback. He's going to have to be something else, whether that's wide receiver, whether that's like a H-back or wildcat formation quarterback. And that's if he gets signed. So I really think he's going to go to either most likely the UFL, that new league that I would be very surprised if it survives, because no other league in the U.S. has managed to stack up against the NFL. So I really think he's going to go there, probably against his wishes. But if he goes there and does good and really impresses, then there's going to be a lot of interest from NFL teams. He's got to prove himself on the playing field somewhere else before an NFL team takes a chance on him. That's my point of view. There might be some crazy person out there like Jerry Jones, and sign him, for a Wildcat in Dallas or something like that. That could very well happen. But I think for Mike Vick's best course of action is to go to somewhere like the UFL and show that he can still play, show that he is still ridiculously talented, and hasn't lost much since he last stepped on the field. And if he does that, then he can really be a force next year in the NFL. So anyway, video post, perfectspiral.blogspot.com. We'll get back at you the next day or so. Peace.